There wasn't enough space for me at our family reunion, but somehow there was room for 66 other people. I'm Emma Mitchell, 35, and this is how I finally stood up to my family's decade-long pattern of exclusion. What happened at that reunion didn't just change the family dynamics. It revealed a secret my mother had been desperately hiding about my grandmother's estate. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. It all started 3 weeks before our annual Mitchell family reunion when my phone rang at exactly 7 p.m. Emma, dear. My mother's voice was unusually formal, the way it got when she was about to disappoint me. About the reunion this year. I shifted my phone to my other ear, already sensing what was coming. Yes, Mom? I already confirmed with you 2 months ago. I even offered to help with the catering. Well, that's just it. She paused, and I could hear her jewelry clinking. She always fidgeted with her bracelet when lying. The lake house we rented has limited capacity. We've had to make some difficult decisions. Limited capacity? I kept my voice neutral, though my hand tightened on the phone. There simply isn't enough space for everyone this year. I'm sure you understand. I stared at the calendar on my kitchen wall, where I'd circled the reunion date in red. So you're uninviting me? Your eldest daughter? Don't be dramatic, Emma. It's not personal. We have to prioritize immediate family and I am immediate family. You know what I mean. Couples, families with children. You're still single, so naturally, I'm the first to be cut. I'm sure you'll be fine on your own. You always are. The dismissiveness in her tone was practiced, perfected over years of similar conversations. I thought about arguing, about reminding her of all the times I'd been there when golden child Sophia was too busy. But what was the point? I understand perfectly, Mother. Good. I knew you'd be reasonable. We'll send photos. After she hung up, I sat in my quiet apartment staring at that circled date. 10 years of being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who never complained. And this was my reward, not even worth a spot at the table. But this time, something felt different. This time, I wasn't going to just accept it. My phone buzzed an hour later, Sophia, of course. Emma, I'm so excited about the reunion. Her voice bubbled with the kind of enthusiasm that came from never being excluded from anything. Mom let me help with the guest list this year. How nice for you. I poured myself a glass of wine, already exhausted by her energy. Even Mom's book club ladies are coming. Can you believe it? And the Hendersons from down the street? Mom hasn't seen them in years but thought it would be fun. Oh, and all of Dad's golf buddies with their wives. I set my glass down carefully. How many people exactly? Let me check the spreadsheet. 66. It's going to be amazing. We have all four of us kids. Well, me, James, Michael, plus spouses, all the cousins from Dad's side, Mom's college roommate, some family friends from the country club. 66 people. My voice was flat. I know, right? The biggest reunion yet. Mom even invited her hairdresser because she mentioned she loves lake houses. Oh, and Cousin Beth's boyfriend. They've only been dating 3 months, but Mom said the more the merrier. The more the merrier. Except for me, apparently. Sophia, did Mom mention anything about the space limitations? Space? No, the place is huge. 3 stories, 12 bedrooms, a massive deck. Why? I closed my eyes. No reason. You're coming, right? I mean, obviously you're coming. You never miss family events. Actually. Oh, someone's at the door. Probably my dress delivery for the reunion. Talk later. She hung up before I could respond. 66 people, including Mom's hairdresser and a boyfriend of 3 months. But not enough room for me. I pulled out my laptop and started typing a very different kind of guest list. As I stared at my laptop screen, a memory surfaced, sharp and sudden, like it had been waiting for this moment. 6 months ago. Grandma Rose's funeral. While everyone clustered around the buffet table, she'd pulled me aside in the funeral home's quiet corridor. No, wait, not the funeral. The week before she died. I'd been the only one visiting her at the hospice. Sophia was too busy with her Pilates certification. James was traveling for work. Michael claimed hospitals made him uncomfortable. But I was there every evening after work, holding her papery hand while she drifted in and out of consciousness. Emma, she'd whispered that last Tuesday, her eyes suddenly clear. The drawer. My jewelry box. I'd brought it to her, expecting her to show me some treasured heirloom. Instead, she'd pulled out a business card. Harold Whitman, she'd said, pressing it into my palm. Estate attorney. He has everything. The real one, not the old one your parents know about. Grandma, what? They think I don't know what they say about you, how they treat you. Her grip had tightened with surprising strength. But I see everything, sweet girl. I've made sure you'll be protected. I don't understand. You will. When the time comes, call Harold. Promise me. I promise, but she'd fallen asleep then and passed away 3 days later. In the chaos of funeral arrangements and family drama, I'd forgotten about the card. Until now. I found it in my jewelry box, tucked behind a pair of earrings she'd given me for my 30th birthday, the birthday my family had forgotten to celebrate. Harold Whitman, estate attorney, specializing in trust and inheritance law. I picked up my phone. It was time to keep my promise. Before I dialed, I needed to be sure this wasn't just another isolated incident. I pulled out my journal, the one my therapist had suggested I keep to track patterns. The patterns were all there in black ink. My 30th birthday. Oh, Emma, was that today? We thought it was next week. Sophia's pottery class exhibition is tonight, so... My MBA graduation. Empty seats where my family should have been. Later, Mom's excuse. Traffic was terrible, and Sophia had a crisis with her boyfriend. Christmas 2019. Told the family dinner was at 6 p.m., found out they'd all met at 4 p.m. for appetizers and gift exchange. Arrived to empty wrapping paper and cold leftovers. The promotion to CFO, not a single congratulation. But when Sophia got promoted to shift supervisor at her yoga studio, Mom threw a party. 10 years of being the forgotten daughter. Not invisible, that would have been easier. No, I was visible enough to be useful. Visible when they needed someone to handle Grandma's medical paperwork. Visible when they needed a loan. Visible when they needed someone to blame. You're too sensitive, Emma. Stop keeping score, Emma. Not everything is about you, Emma. But it was never about me. That was the point. I looked at the business card again. Grandma Rose had seen it all. The woman who'd raised 5 children and built a small empire in real estate had noticed what everyone else ignored. That her granddaughter was being systematically excluded by her own parents. And she'd done something about it. I dialed Harold Whitman's number. It rang twice. Whitman Law Office. I've been expecting your call, Miss Mitchell. The certainty in his voice sent a shiver down my spine. How did you... Your grandmother said you'd call when you were ready. Are you ready? This time, I didn't hesitate. Yes. Are you still watching? If you've ever felt excluded by your own family, hit that like button. I want to know, would you have shown up uninvited or stayed away? Comment below with show up or stay away. And please share this with someone who needs to hear that standing up for yourself isn't being difficult. It's being dignified. Now, here's where things get interesting. Harold Whitman's office was exactly what you'd expect from someone who'd worked with my grandmother for 20 years. Understated, professional, intimidating in its quiet authority. Miss Mitchell. He stood as his secretary showed me in. Silver-haired, sharp-eyed, the kind of man who'd seen every family drama play out in legal documents. I wondered when you'd come. You said you were expecting my call. Your grandmother was very specific. She said you'd contact me when your family finally pushed too far. He gestured to a leather chair. The reunion situation, I presume. I blinked. How could you possibly know? Your grandmother updated her estate plans every year. Last year, she added a rather interesting clause about family gatherings. He pulled out a thick folder marked Rose Mitchell, Confidential. But first, I need to verify something. Do you have the envelope she gave you? The envelope. I'd almost forgotten. Grandma had pressed it into my hand that last day, made me promise not to open it until the right time. Yes, it's in my apartment. Good. Bring it to our next meeting. For now, let me explain what your grandmother arranged. He opened the folder, revealing documents tagged with colorful tabs. Your parents have been operating under the assumption that they're the primary beneficiaries of your grandmother's estate. They're not? They're not. His smile was razor sharp. They're temporary trustees. The primary beneficiary, with full control upon certain conditions being met, is you. The room seemed to tilt. What conditions? Family unity conditions. Specifically, any deliberate exclusion of immediate family members from family gatherings voids their trustee status immediately. You mean? I mean, your mother just handed you control of a $2.3 million estate by uninviting you from a family reunion. Harold pulled out a document marked with a gold seal. This is your grandmother's second will. The real one. Second will? Your parents know about the first one, dated 5 years ago. Standard distribution, them as primary beneficiaries. What they don't know is that Rose created this one 13 months ago, after what she called the birthday incident. My forgotten 30th birthday. Grandma had called me that night, the only family member who remembered. Your grandmother was very specific about her wishes, Harold continued, adjusting his glasses. Quote, my granddaughter Emma has been the only constant presence in my final years, while others only appeared when they needed something. She deserves more than recognition. She deserves protection. Protection from what? From them. He pulled out another document. Every slight, every exclusion, every incident. Rose documented it all. She hired a private investigator to verify family gathering guest lists, saved screenshots of social media posts, even recorded some conversations. She investigated my family? She protected you. There's a difference. Harold's expression softened slightly. She suspected this might happen. That's why she took precautions. He showed me a bank statement. The lake house they're using for the reunion? It's part of your inheritance. They're literally using your property to exclude you from. My hands shook as I processed this. What about my siblings? They each have trust funds released on their 35th birthdays, fair, equal amounts. But the bulk of the estate, the properties, the investments, the family business shares, that's yours to manage. And my parents? They receive a generous monthly allowance, if and only if they maintain family unity. One exclusion, one act of favoritism documented, and they forfeit everything. When does this take effect? Harold smiled. The moment they excluded you? It already has. So what do I do now? I asked, my mind racing through the implications. Harold leaned back in his chair. That depends. What outcome do you want? I paused, really thinking about it. I want them to face consequences, publicly, the same way they've humiliated me publicly for years. Then we appear at the reunion. He said it like discussing weather, with documentation, in front of all 66 witnesses your mother so thoughtfully assembled. Won't that seem vindictive? Not at all. You're the executor of the estate. You have a legal obligation to inform all parties of changes in the trust status. The fact that it happens at a family gathering they excluded you from, that's just poetic justice. We spent the next 2 hours planning. Harold would arrive separately, maintaining professional distance. I'd enter first, gauge the room, then signal him when ready. Wear something professional, he advised. You're not coming as the excluded daughter. You're coming as the executor of Rose Mitchell's estate. I chose my best suit, the charcoal one I'd worn to my CFO interview. The one Grandma had bought me, actually, insisting I needed to dress like the powerful woman you are. The morning of the reunion, I retrieved the envelope from my safe. Inside, a handwritten note in Grandma's shaky script. My dearest Emma, they will try to make you small. Don't let them. You have more power than you know. Use it wisely, but use it. All my love, Grandma Rose. Underneath the note, a photo of the lake house with Emma's inheritance written on the back, dated a year ago. She'd planned this all along. Every detail, every protection. I texted Harold. I'm ready. His response was immediate. So was your grandmother. Let's honor her wishes. The 3-hour drive to the lake house gave me too much time to think. Every mile marker was a chance to turn back, to keep the peace, to remain the forgotten daughter who never caused trouble. But I kept driving. The GPS announced I was 5 minutes away when my phone buzzed. A text from James. Where are you? Mom said you couldn't make it. I didn't respond. Let them think I was sitting at home, accepting my exclusion like always. The lake house came into view, and I had to pull over. It was magnificent. 3 stories of glass and timber overlooking the water, with a wraparound deck and manicured gardens. 66 cars filled the curved driveway and overflow parking on the lawn. Mom had even hired valet attendants. All of this was mine. They were literally partying on my property while telling me there wasn't room for me. I texted Harold. I'm here, parking down the road. I'm at the gate, black Mercedes. Wait for my signal. Through the trees, I could see the reunion in full swing, white tents on the lawn, a professional photographer, even a small band. Mom had gone all out, with money that wasn't hers to spend. Laughter drifted across the water. Sophia's distinctive shriek of delight. Mom's practiced society laugh. The clink of expensive glassware. My phone buzzed again. James. This is weird without you. Mom's telling everyone you had a work emergency. A work emergency. Of course. Even in my absence, I was the workaholic who chose career over family. The narrative wrote itself. Another text, this time from Harold. Ready when you are. Remember, you're not asking for permission. You're informing them of decisions already made. I started the car, drove to the valet stand, and handed over my keys. Time to crash my own family reunion. As I walked toward the entrance, my phone vibrated urgently. James was calling. Emma, don't come. His voice was low, urgent. I just heard Mom talking to her friends. About what? About Grandma's estate. She's telling everyone about her plans to renovate the lake house into a luxury rental. She's already taken deposits from investors. Deposits? My blood ran cold. James, she doesn't own... I know something's off. Dad keeps trying to change the subject, but Mom's on her 3rd champagne and won't stop talking about the Mitchell family empire she's building. What else is she saying? That's the thing. She mentioned you. Said you were too financially irresponsible to be trusted with any family assets. That's why you weren't included in the estate planning. She said what? She's telling everyone you begged for money last month and she had to refuse. Emma, you're the CFO of a Fortune 500 company. Everyone knows you don't need money. Let me guess. Sophia's backing her up? Sophia's worse. She's telling people you're in therapy for jealousy issues, and that's why you couldn't come today. That the family needed a healthy boundary from your toxic energy. I looked across the lawn to where Harold waited in his Mercedes. He caught my eye and nodded. James, I need you to do me a favor. Anything. In about 10 minutes, make sure Mom is in the main room with everyone. Tell her you want to make a toast or something. Emma, what are you planning? Something Grandma planned, actually. Just trust me. Always have. He paused. You know, Grandma would be proud of whatever you're about to do. He had no idea how right he was. Harold was walking toward me, briefcase in hand, looking every inch the seasoned attorney. Showtime, he said quietly. I walked through the front door of my own lake house like I belonged there, because I did. The foyer opened into a grand room where dozens of relatives and friends mingled, champagne glasses catching the afternoon light. The conversation dimmed like someone had turned down the volume. Sophia saw me first. Her perfectly glossed mouth fell open. Emma? You weren't invited. Every head turned. The silence spread like ripples on water. Family doesn't need invitations, right? I kept my voice pleasant, professional. That's what Mom always says. My mother emerged from the crowd, her face cycling through emotions, shock, anger, then forced composure as she noticed everyone watching. Emma, dear, I thought we discussed. We did. You were very clear. I stepped aside. I brought a +1. I hope that's acceptable. Harold entered with perfect timing, his presence immediately commanding attention. Several of the older relatives straightened, recognizing the authority he carried. Mom's society smile flickered. I don't believe we've met. Actually, Margaret, we have. Harold's voice carried across the room. Harold Whitman. I was at Rose's funeral. The color drained from my mother's face. She knew that name. Maybe not the man, but definitely the name. The estate attorney? Uncle Richard said from across the room. Rose's estate attorney? The very same. Harold set his briefcase on the marble entrance table with a decisive click. Sophia tried to salvage the situation. This is a family gathering, not a business meeting. How inappropriate, Emma. Inappropriate? I let the word hang. Like taking investment deposits for property you don't own? The room erupted in whispers. Mom's champagne glass trembled in her hand. I don't know what you think you're. I think we should all sit down, Harold interrupted smoothly. What I have to share concerns everyone here. My mother's transformation was instant. The practiced hostess vanished, replaced by something cornered and dangerous. Harold? What? What are you doing here? She set her champagne down too hard, the crystal ringing against marble. She took one step back, then another. I'm here in my professional capacity, Mrs. Mitchell. Harold's tone was perfectly neutral, which somehow made it worse. Dad appeared from the crowd, his golf tan suddenly ashen. Margaret, what's going on? Robert, Harold nodded in acknowledgement. I believe you both remember me from Rose's funeral. We spoke briefly about the estate. The estate is settled, Mom said quickly, too quickly. We handled everything months ago. You handled the first will, Harold corrected. The one from 5 years ago. The whispers started again. Aunt Catherine clutched her pearls. First will? Mom laughed, high and brittle. This is ridiculous. Emma, if this is some kind of stunt. Mrs. Mitchell, Harold's voice cut through her protest. As executor of Rose Mitchell's current and binding estate, Emma has a legal obligation to inform all beneficiaries of changes in trust status. Executor? Dad's voice cracked. Emma's the executor? As of 3 weeks ago, when you excluded her from this family gathering, yes. Mom's hands were shaking now. That's not. Rose wouldn't. Rose did. Harold pulled out a document. 13 months ago, with very specific conditions. Sophia pushed forward, her face flushed. This is insane! Mom, tell them! But Mom wasn't looking at Sophia. She was staring at Harold's briefcase like it contained a live bomb. Which, in a way, it did. Perhaps we should all sit down, Harold repeated. This concerns everyone here, especially those who've made financial commitments based on Mrs. Mitchell's promises about this property. Several investors in the crowd exchanged alarmed looks. I stepped forward, addressing the room with the same authority I used in board meetings. For those who don't know me, I'm Emma Mitchell, Rose's granddaughter. And this is Harold Whitman, Grandma Rose's estate attorney. We know who you are, Cousin Patricia said coolly. The question is why you're here disrupting. This is Harold Whitman, Grandma Rose's estate attorney, I repeated, louder this time. He has information about the estate that affects everyone in this room. The crowd shifted uneasily. Several of Mom's investor friends moved closer. Rose told me she updated her will last year, Aunt Betty suddenly exclaimed from near the fireplace. At Thanksgiving, she mentioned making changes. Mom whirled on her. That's impossible. We would have been notified. You were notified, Harold interjected. A registered letter was sent to your address 4 months ago. We never received, Dad started, then stopped, looking at Mom. Mom's jaw tightened. It must have been lost. That's why we sent 3 copies, Harold continued smoothly. All signed for by someone at your residence. The whispers grew louder. I caught fragments. Hidden letters. What else don't we know? Always suspected Margaret. Mr. Henderson, one of Mom's investors, stepped forward. Excuse me, but I've given Margaret a substantial deposit for renovation rights on this property. Are you saying there's a problem? I'm saying, Harold replied, that Margaret Mitchell has no legal authority to rent, renovate, or otherwise monetize this property. That's a lie, Sophia shrieked. Mom inherited everything. She told us, your mother inherited nothing. Harold's words fell like stones into still water. She was appointed temporary trustee, contingent on specific behavioral conditions she violated 3 weeks ago. The room erupted, everyone talking at once, voices rising, accusations flying. But I kept my eyes on my mother, watching her carefully constructed world begin to crumble. Mom rallied quickly, slipping back into her hostess mask with practiced ease. This is a family party. Her laugh tinkled like broken glass. Surely business can wait until Monday. She gestured grandly to the catered spread, the band, the photographer still awkwardly capturing the drama. We're here to celebrate family. Harold, I'm sure you understand. Perhaps we could schedule a proper meeting. This can't wait. Harold checked his watch. In fact, it's already 3 weeks overdue. Sophia rushed to support her mother. How inappropriate, Emma, crashing our reunion with lawyers. What's next, security guards? No need for security, I said calmly. I own this house. The silence was deafening. Mom's smile finally cracked completely. That's ridiculous. This is the rental property for the reunion. Rented from the Rose Mitchell estate, Harold confirmed. Which Emma now controls. You've been spending her money, Margaret. Mr. Henderson looked between us, his face reddening. Margaret, you assured me you had full authority. She does, Mom insisted, but her voice had gone shrill. This is all a misunderstanding. Emma's always been jealous of Sophia, and now she's trying to… Trying to what? I asked quietly. Claim what Grandma left me? Inform you that you've been committing fraud? Fraud? 3 investors said it simultaneously. Mom grabbed Dad's arm. Robert, tell them. Tell them about the will. Dad looked exhausted suddenly, every one of his 64 years showing. Which will, Margaret? The one you told me about? Or the one you hid? The crowd gasped. Even Sophia stepped back from Mom. I didn't hide anything. If there were changes, they would have gone through proper channels. Harold pulled out his phone. Shall I play the recording of you signing for the registered letters? Mom went very, very still. I looked around the room at 66 faces, some shocked, some confused, most simply curious. These were the people important enough to invite while I wasn't. Time to show them why Grandma chose me. Since everyone important to Grandma is here, I said, my voice carrying clearly, we should do this properly. Could everyone please gather in the main room? People moved slowly, uncertain, but they moved. The caterers stopped serving. The band fell silent. Even the photographer lowered his camera. Mom tried one last time. This is ridiculous. We don't have to listen to… Actually, you do. Harold's voice was steel. Unless you want me to handle this through the courts instead. Public record, newspaper notices, full investigation into the investment deposits. That shut her up. We formed a large circle in the grand room, sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the lake. My lake, I realized. My inheritance that they'd been using as their personal playground. James positioned himself strategically between me and our parents, a subtle show of support that I appreciated. His wife Sarah gave me a small nod of encouragement. What Grandma wanted most, I began, finding my voice, was transparency in family matters. She believed secrets destroyed families. Rose never kept secrets from us, Mom protested. No, I agreed. But you kept secrets from her. Like telling her I was too busy to visit when I called. Like saying I didn't want to come to her 90th birthday when you never told me about it. Aunt Betty gasped. Margaret, you said Emma was traveling for work. I was home, I said simply, 3 miles away, wondering why I wasn't invited to my grandmother's milestone birthday. Harold opened his briefcase with a decisive click. Shall we begin with Rose's letter? If you're feeling that satisfaction building up, give this video a thumbs up. Have you ever had to stand up to family members who tried to exclude you? Type yes in the comments if you've been there. And remember to subscribe. I post new stories every week about setting boundaries and finding your voice. Now, let me tell you what happened when that briefcase opened. Harold pulled out an envelope with Grandma's distinctive handwriting. This letter was written by Rose Mitchell, witnessed and notarized 13 months ago. He began to read in his clear, professional voice. To my family, whom I love despite everything. By the time this is read, certain truths will have come to light. I have watched for years as my granddaughter Emma has been systematically excluded, overlooked, and diminished by those who should have cherished her most. Mom made a sound of protest, but Harold continued. Emma alone visited me in my final years, not when she wanted something, but because she cared. Every Tuesday and Thursday, without fail, while others came only when they needed money or favors. Sophia's face flushed red. She'd borrowed $30,000 for her yoga studio last year. To my granddaughter Emma, who never forgot to visit, who handled my medical care when it became too uncomfortable for others, who spent her 30th birthday holding my hand in the hospital while her family celebrated without her, I leave the bulk of my estate. That's not fair, Sophia burst out. We didn't know she was at the hospital that night. Because you never asked, James said quietly. You were too busy posting Instagram photos from the party. Harold continued reading. Family isn't about grand gestures, but consistent presence. Emma has been consistently present. The others have been consistently absent, unless they needed something. I have therefore named Emma as primary executor and beneficiary, with specific conditions to protect her from the manipulation I can no longer shield her from myself. Several relatives were crying now. Aunt Betty reached over and squeezed my hand. The conditions are simple, Harold read. Treat all family members equally, or forfeit everything. Harold pulled out a thick folder of property deeds. Now, regarding the specific assets of the estate. Mom's hands clenched at her sides. The lake house, this property where we're currently standing, valued at $1.2 million, belongs entirely to Emma Mitchell. The investors in the room exchanged panicked looks. Mr. Henderson stepped forward. But Margaret took deposits. Without any legal authority, Harold confirmed. She's been acting as if she owned property that was never hers. The investment accounts totaling $800,000, Emma's. The rental properties in downtown, Emma's. The family business shares, Emma's. With each revelation, Mom seemed to shrink. Sophia couldn't contain herself anymore. This is insane! Mom told us she inherited everything. She's been planning renovations. She booked our family cruise with that money. What cruise? I asked, though I already knew. The Mediterranean cruise next month. The whole family was going. Sophia stopped, realizing what she'd just admitted. I mean, it was supposed to be a surprise for later, when you were feeling better about things. A surprise, like the reunion I wasn't invited to? James laughed bitterly. Let me guess, Sophia. No cabin for Emma on that cruise either? Sophia's silence was answer enough. Your mother has been spending money that wasn't hers, Harold stated. Every transaction will need to be reviewed and possibly reversed. But the deposits are non-refundable, Mom finally spoke, her voice cracking. Then you'll need to find a way to refund them, Harold replied. From your personal accounts, not the estate's. Dad sank into a chair. Margaret, how much did you take in deposits? Mom's silence stretched until Sophia answered for her. 75,000. She promised them exclusive rental rights for next summer. The room erupted in shocked exclamations. Harold raised his hand for silence. Let me explain the conditions Rose put in place. The room settled, everyone leaning in. The family trust operates under specific behavioral requirements. First, all immediate family members must be included in family gatherings. No exceptions. Define immediate family, Mom said desperately. Children, grandchildren, and their spouses. Emma qualifies on all counts. But she's not married. Marriage isn't required for inclusion. Being a daughter is. Harold's tone was ice. Second condition, any attempt to exclude, marginalize, or discriminate against any family member results in immediate forfeiture of beneficiary status. That's controlling, Sophia protested. That's protection, Harold corrected. Your grandmother witnessed years of Emma being excluded. This reunion itself is a violation of the terms. He pulled out another document. 3 weeks ago, Margaret Mitchell called Emma to uninvite her from this gathering. That phone call was the triggering event. You can't prove. Harold pulled out his phone. Emma, did you record that call? I nodded. Grandma told me to document everything. I've been recording for 2 years. The blood drained from Mom's face as I pulled out my phone. Would you like me to play it? The part where you said there wasn't enough space despite inviting 66 people? This is entrapment, Mom shrieked. This is accountability, Harold responded. Mrs. Mitchell, you've forfeited your position as trustee, effective immediately. Uncle Richard whistled low. Rose planned all this? Down to the last detail, Harold confirmed. She even predicted Margaret would throw a large gathering to celebrate her supposed inheritance. Rose wanted witnesses to the truth. 66 witnesses, I added quietly. Thanks for inviting so many people, Mom. Grandma would appreciate the transparency. Mom made one last desperate attempt. This is our money. Robert's mother promised it to us. Was, Harold corrected. Past tense, and she promised it conditionally, which you would know if you'd read the documents you signed for. The room was thick with judgment. Mom's carefully curated guest list, all the people she'd wanted to impress, were witnessing her complete humiliation. Mrs. Henderson, one of Mom's book club friends, spoke up. Margaret, you told us Emma was irresponsible with money, but she's been managing everything? There was a misunderstanding. What misunderstanding? Cousin Patricia asked. You literally told me Emma couldn't be trusted with a credit card, but she's the CFO of a Fortune 500 company? And you excluded her from inheriting... Uncle Richard paused, doing the math. Nothing of yours? You excluded your own daughter from money that was already hers? The whispers started again, harsher this time. Always knew Margaret was social climbing. Poor Emma. Imagine stealing from your own child. Sophia tried to defend her mother. Emma's just bitter. She's always been jealous of me. Jealous of what? Sarah, James's wife, suddenly spoke up. Your mother's favoritism? The trips Emma paid for but wasn't invited on? The family photos she's cropped out of? Sarah, James warned, but she continued. No, I'm tired of watching this. Emma paid for Sophia's yoga studio. Did you all know that? The loan Sophia couldn't get? Emma co-signed. The payments Sophia missed? Emma covered them. This was news to most of the room. Sophia went pale. Is that true? Aunt Betty asked. I just nodded. There was no point in hiding it anymore. You've been paying for the person who helped exclude you? Mr. Henderson looked disgusted. Margaret, what kind of family are you running? The silence stretched until Dad suddenly stood up, his face heavy with exhaustion and something that looked like relief. Enough, Margaret. Enough. Everyone turned to stare at him. In 35 years, I'd never heard him contradict her publicly. Robert, don't you dare. I knew. His words fell into the stunned silence. I knew about the second will. Harold sent the letters to my office, too. Mom's face went from pale to furious. You knew? I hoped Emma wouldn't find out. That we could keep pretending, keep taking advantage of her good nature. He looked at me, his eyes wet. I'm sorry, Emma. I'm so damn sorry. Robert! Mom's voice was shrill. How could you? How could I? How could you? He turned on her with unexpected force. She's our daughter, our firstborn, and you've spent 20 years treating her like an inconvenience. She was never. Stop lying! Dad's shout echoed off the vaulted ceiling. You resented her from the day Sophia was born. Emma was too independent, too smart, too much like my mother, and you couldn't control her. That's not. You told people she had a work emergency today. Our daughter, who hasn't missed a family event in a decade, suddenly had an emergency? You think people are stupid? James stepped forward. Dad's right. I'm tired of it too. He moved to stand beside me. Emma's been the only real adult in this family for years. Sarah joined him, then Aunt Betty, then Uncle Richard. One by one, family members physically moved to my side of the room, leaving Mom and Sophia increasingly isolated. I'm tired of pretending, Margaret, Dad said quietly. We were wrong. We've been wrong for years, and Mother knew it. James cleared his throat, drawing everyone's attention. I need to say something. I've been a coward. I looked at my younger brother in surprise. I knew what was happening. We all did. Every birthday Emma wasn't celebrated. Every achievement that was ignored. Every time Sophia got praise for doing the minimum while Emma's accomplishments were dismissed. He turned to face the room. You want to know something? Emma paid for my MBA. When I couldn't get loans, she covered it. Never asked for anything back. Never even told anyone. James, I started, but he held up his hand. No, they need to hear this. Sophia's yoga studio? Emma's money. Mom's kitchen renovation last year? Emma paid for it when Dad's business had that rough patch. The cruise Mom just booked? Guaranteed Emma wasn't invited, but I bet she was going to be asked to contribute. Aunt Betty spoke up. Rose told me once that Emma was the only one who never asked her for money. Everyone else had their hand out, but Emma just asked how she was feeling. That's why Rose changed the will, Uncle Richard added. She saw who really valued family versus who just valued family money. More relatives started sharing stories. How I'd quietly helped with medical bills, college tuition, business loans, never asking for credit, never demanding gratitude. Even Sophia's husband, Marcus, looked uncomfortable. Sophia, you told me Emma was jealous of you, but it sounds like she's been supporting you. She wanted to make me look bad. By secretly paying your bills? Marcus stepped away from his wife. That doesn't even make sense. The tide had completely turned. Mom stood alone now, even Sophia backing away from her, perhaps finally seeing how she'd been used as a weapon against her own sister. Harold pulled out a detailed spreadsheet. Now let's discuss the financial reality of the situation. He handed copies to the investors in the room. Every dollar spent from the estate in the last 6 months will need to be reviewed. Mrs. Mitchell, you've withdrawn approximately $47,000 beyond your authorized living allowance. That was for family expenses. This reunion alone cost $15,000, paid from Emma's inheritance. Harold's voice was clinical. The Mediterranean cruise, $32,000, also from Emma's funds. Sophia gasped. The cruise was $30,000? First-class cabins for everyone. Except Emma, of course. Harold turned a page. There's more. Renovations to your personal residence, Margaret, $18,000. New car lease, $800 monthly. Country club membership renewal, $12,000. With each number, the room grew quieter. The reality was staggering. All told, you've spent $94,000 of Emma's money in 6 months. That needs to be repaid within 30 days. 94,000? Dad looked sick. Margaret, our savings. We don't have that much liquid, Mom admitted quietly. Then you'll need to liquidate assets, Harold stated. Or Emma could press criminal charges for fraud and embezzlement. You wouldn't. Mom looked at me desperately. I let the silence stretch. Grandma's letter said to be fair, so I'll be fair. You have 60 days, not 30. and I won't press charges if you comply fully. The cruise is non-refundable, Sophia said weakly. Then you'll go on your family cruise, I said. The one you planned without me. Consider it your last vacation on my dime. Marcus suddenly spoke up. Wait, our wedding. Sophia, you said your parents paid for it. Sophia looked at the floor. Emma paid for your wedding? Marcus's voice was rising. The wedding where she was barely included in photos? Sophia exploded. You planned this. You've always been jealous of me. Perfect Emma with her perfect job and perfect credit score? She whirled around the room looking for support. Can't you all see what she's doing? She's destroying our family. Our family was already broken, I said calmly. I'm just done pretending it wasn't. You've turned everyone against us. No, Sophia, your actions did that. Mom's lies did that. I just brought the receipts. She lunged toward me, but James stepped between us. That's enough, Sophia. You're taking her side? She's ruining everything. What everything? James asked. The free ride? The fantasy that Mom actually owned what she was spending? The delusion that treating Emma like garbage was acceptable? Sophia turned to the crowd. She's manipulating all of you. Can't you see? We see plenty, Mrs. Henderson interrupted. We see a spoiled woman who's been living off her sister's generosity while helping to exclude her. I didn't. You called me last week, Cousin Patricia said, laughing about how Emma wasn't invited. You said it was hilarious that she kept trying to be part of a family that didn't want her. Sophia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. You sent that group text, Aunt Betty added. The one making fun of Emma's Christmas gift. The one where you called her pathetically desperate for approval. That was private. Nothing's private when you send it to 15 people, Uncle Richard said disgustedly. Marcus was staring at his wife like he'd never seen her before. You've been bullying your own sister? The one paying your bills? It wasn't bullying, it was just, she doesn't understand jokes. Explain the joke, I said quietly. Explain what's funny about excluding me. Sophia's face crumpled, but no tears came. Just rage and the realization that she'd lost. I stood in the center of the room, 66 pairs of eyes on me, and finally spoke my truth. For 10 years, I've been the forgotten daughter, the one who wasn't worth celebrating, the one whose achievements didn't matter, the one who could be excluded without explanation. My voice was steady, calm. My 30th birthday, forgotten. My MBA graduation, ignored. My promotion to CFO, not worth mentioning. But I kept showing up, kept helping, kept hoping that one day I'd be enough. Emma, Mom started. I'm not finished. I held up my hand. You want to know what Grandma saw? She saw me visiting her every week while you all made excuses. She saw me handling her medical care while Sophia was too sensitive for hospitals. She saw me sleeping in that uncomfortable chair by her bed while you planned parties I wasn't invited to. I pulled out my phone, showing a photo. This was my 30th birthday, in the hospital with Grandma while you all celebrated without me. She took this picture, said she wanted proof that someone in this family understood what love really meant. Several people were crying now. I'm not punishing you, I continued. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. I turned to Harold. I want it on record that I'll be fair. More fair than they ever were to me. Emma, please! Mom stepped forward. I'm executor because Grandma knew I'd be fair, even to those who weren't fair to me. I looked at each family member. Everyone will get their designated inheritance, but the days of using me as a bank while treating me as invisible are over. What do you want? Dad asked quietly. What I've always wanted, to be treated like I matter. And if you can't do that, then at least respect the boundaries I'm setting. Harold handed me a document. Emma has prepared terms for moving forward. I took a breath. Here's what's going to happen. Mom and Dad, you'll receive your monthly allowance as Grandma specified, but only after repaying what you've taken. Sophia, your trust fund remains intact, but the extra support stops now. That's fair, Dad said immediately. There's more. If this family wants to heal, we need professional help. Family therapy, twice monthly for the next 6 months, mandatory for anyone who wants to remain beneficiaries. Therapy? Sophia scoffed. You can't force. I can and I will. Grandma's will gives me complete discretion over distributions. Participate or forfeit. Mom's jaw clenched. This is extortion. No, this is boundaries. Something this family has never respected. I continued. All financial decisions regarding the estate go through me. Full transparency. No more secret withdrawals, no more hidden spending. Every purchase needs your approval? Mom asked. Every purchase over $500. Just like you made me justify every expense when I was younger, despite spending freely on Sophia. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The lake house will be available for family gatherings, real ones, where everyone is actually invited. The schedule will be fair and rotating. No one gets preferential treatment. What about the reunion? James asked. This one? It continues. It's paid for, after all, with my money. I looked around. Everyone is welcome to stay and enjoy what my inheritance provided. Even us? Sophia asked quietly. Even you. Grandma wanted a united family. That's still possible, with boundaries. Harold produced a stack of documents. Everyone will need to sign acknowledgement of the new terms. This is legally binding. And if we don't sign, Mom asked, then you forfeit all benefits from the estate. Your choice. Mom tried one last negotiation. 60 days isn't enough time to gather that much money. How long do you need? I asked. 6 months, 90 days, final offer. The therapy requirement is excessive, non-negotiable. I stayed firm. Respect isn't negotiable. Everything else we can discuss. Dad picked up the pen first. Where do I sign? Robert, Mom gasped. I'm done, Margaret. Done with the lies, the manipulation, the favoritism. If therapy is what it takes to have a real family, then I'll go. He signed with decisive strokes. James was next, then Sarah. Aunt Betty followed, then Uncle Richard. One by one, family members came forward to sign. This is about more than money, I told them. It's about changing the patterns that Grandma saw destroying us. Mr. Henderson approached. Emma, about my deposit. I'll honor any legitimate contracts Mom made, but they'll be renegotiated under proper terms. You'll get your rental weeks just through the proper channels. That's more than fair. Mom watched her support system crumble. You're all just going to accept this? Accept what? Cousin Patricia asked. That Emma owns what she owns? That lying has consequences? Yes, we accept reality. The reality, Harold added, is that Emma could have pursued criminal charges. Instead, she's offering you a path forward. I'd take it if I were you. Mom's hand shook as she finally took the pen. This isn't over. You're right, I agreed. It's just beginning. For once, we're going to be a real family, not just a performance of one. She signed aggressively, nearly tearing the paper. Only Sophia remained. Marcus nudged her. Sign it, unless you want to explain to everyone why we can't afford our mortgage without your trust fund. With 66 people watching, the documents were signed and witnessed. Harold notarized each one with efficient precision. This is now legally binding, he announced. Any violation of these terms results in immediate forfeiture of beneficiary status. Sophia signed last, her signature barely legible. As soon as she finished, she stormed toward the door. I need air. Sophia, Marcus called after her, but she was gone. The room felt lighter somehow, like a storm had passed. Is there anything else? Mom asked stiffly, already moving toward the door herself. Actually, yes. I pulled out one more document. There's something else Grandma wanted me to share. Mom froze. She left a second letter. For after the legal matters were settled, I opened it carefully. Should I read it? Yes, several voices said at once. My dear family, I began. If Emma is reading this, then you've learned the truth. Some of you may be angry. Some may feel betrayed. But know this. Everything I've done was out of love. I continued. Margaret, you are my daughter-in-law, and I've watched you struggle with jealousy for years. It poisoned you, made you cruel to your own child. This is your chance to heal. Mom's face crumpled. Sophia, you were taught to compete with your sister instead of love her. That wasn't your fault, but continuing it is. James, your silence made you complicit. Speaking up now is your redemption. And Emma, my brave girl, you deserved so much more. This is my gift. Not just money, but the power to demand respect. Use it wisely. I folded the letter. She ended with, "Choose to be a family. It's not too late." The room was silent, except for quiet crying. "There's one more thing," I said, pulling everyone's attention back. "I've made some decisions about the estate." Mom tensed, clearly expecting more punishment. The lake house will host monthly family dinners, mandatory for beneficiaries, optional for everyone else. But here's the difference. Everyone helps. No more hierarchy. We rotate cooking, cleaning, hosting. Like a real family, Aunt Betty said approvingly. I'm also establishing the Rose Mitchell Memorial Scholarship, 50,000 annually for nursing students, because Grandma's nurses were the ones who told me she was alone when I couldn't visit. Several people nodded, touched by the gesture. The vacation properties will be available to all family members on a rotating schedule, equal access. And yes, Mom, that includes you, after the repayment is complete. That's generous, Dad said. It's what Grandma would want. But make no mistake, any return to old patterns, any exclusion, any favoritism, and it all stops. Marcus suddenly spoke up. Sophia should hear this. I'll go get her. But as he turned, Sophia appeared in the doorway. Her face was streaked with tears, makeup ruined. She started, then stopped. Emma, I'm sorry. The room held its breath. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know. Mom always said you didn't care about family, that you thought you were better than us. I believed her because it was easier than admitting we were horrible to you. Sophia, Mom warned. No, Mom, we were horrible. I was horrible. Emma, you paid for my wedding and I made jokes about your +1 being your laptop. Marcus looked stunned. You said that? I said worse. Sophia's voice broke. I'm sorry. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm sorry. 3 months later, we gathered again at the lake house. This time, everyone was actually invited. The differences were subtle, but significant. Mom sat quietly at the dinner table, no longer holding court. She'd started therapy, individual and family, and while she still struggled with giving up control, she was trying. Dad had become more present, more vocal. Without Mom's constant dominance, he'd found his voice again. He'd even called me last week just to chat, a first in my adult life. The house looks beautiful, Sarah commented, admiring the professionally cleaned windows that sparkled in the afternoon sun. It should, Mom said, then caught herself. I mean, Emma's done a wonderful job managing it. It was progress, slow, painful, but progress. James had become my closest ally, our bond stronger than ever. Should have happened years ago, he said, helping me set the table. Me standing up for you, I mean. You're doing it now. That's what matters. Sophia arrived late, as usual, but with a different energy. She'd started individual therapy too, unpacking years of learned behavior. She brought a homemade pie, burnt around the edges, but made with effort. I followed Grandma's recipe, she said shyly, setting it on the counter. Marcus had been the surprise. After learning the truth, he'd insisted on couples counseling. He looked at Sophia differently now, not with less love, but with open eyes. Family meeting in 10 minutes, I announced. Financial review, then dinner. Do we have to do this every month? Mom asked, though without her old venom. Transparency, remember? Besides, you'll want to hear this. The estate has grown by 12% this quarter. Even Mom couldn't hide her impressed expression. Turns out the irresponsible daughter was quite good with money. Standing on the deck after dinner, watching the sun set over the lake, I thought about how far we'd come. The family wasn't perfect, might never be, but it was honest now. Penny for your thoughts? James joined me, beer in hand, just thinking about Grandma, how she orchestrated all of this. She was a smart woman, knew exactly what would happen when the truth came out. I pulled out my phone, showing him a photo from tonight's dinner. Everyone at the table, no one excluded, no one cropped out. She wanted this. A real family, not a performance. You know what the best part is? James asked. What? You don't look angry anymore. For years you had this tension, like you were constantly bracing for the next hurt. It's gone now. He was right. Setting boundaries hadn't just protected me, it had freed me. Mom appeared in the doorway. Emma, could we talk? James squeezed my shoulder and left us alone. I've been thinking about your birthday, she said quietly. Your 36th is coming up. It is. I'd like to throw you a party, a real one, with everyone there because they want to celebrate you. She paused. If you'll let me. It was an olive branch, a small one, but genuine. We'll see how the next few months go, I said. But maybe. She nodded, understanding she hadn't earned trust yet. I know I have a long way to go, but I want you to know, I see it now. What we did, what I did. And I'm sorry. Family doesn't mean accepting disrespect, I said, repeating what I'd learned. But it does mean allowing room for growth. Love includes accountability. The lake house stood behind us, solid and beautiful, no longer a symbol of exclusion, but of possibility. Grandma's final gift hadn't just been money. It had been the power to demand respect and the wisdom to use it with grace. Thank you for watching my story. If this resonated with you, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Share this with someone who needs to remember that setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's necessary. Comment below. Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and keeping your self-respect? I read every comment and heart the ones that share their own stories of standing up for themselves. Remember, you deserve a seat at every table where your name is mentioned. Until next time, stay strong.